Imagine waking up tomorrow with no kitchen, no grocery store, and no labels telling you what is safe. You are hungry. Around you are hundreds of leaves, berries, roots, and mushrooms, insects, and animals. Some contain calories. Some contain medicine. Some will make you vomit, and a few could kill you before sunset. So, what do you eat? The usual answer is a little ridiculous. We imagine one reckless caveman tasting every unknown plant, while everyone else waits to see whether he survives. Red berry? He lives. Add it to the menu. Speckled mushroom? He dies. Cross it off. But a species that learned only by killing its volunteers would not last very long. Ancient humans survived because food safety was never one trick. It was a layered defense system made from biology, memory, other people, and technology. And the most important layer was not inside any single brain, it was spread across the entire group. The first defense began in the mouth. Plants cannot run away, so many protect themselves with chemicals. Alkalides, glycosides, tannins, and countless other compounds can discourage an animal from taking a second bite. A lot of those compounds taste bitter. Humans carry roughly 2 dozen functional bitter taste receptors. Together, they can act like a row of chemical alarm buttons. When a strong bitter signal arrives, the safest immediate response is often simple: stop chewing. The alarm is ancient, it is also imperfect. Some harmless and nutritious foods taste bitter. Coffee, cacao, and many vegetables would fail a test that said bitter equals deadly. Meanwhile, not every dangerous substance announces itself with a terrible flavor. Your tongue is a warning system, not a poison detector. Smell added another layer. Rotting food can release odors that trigger disgust before it reaches the mouth. Sourness can sometimes warn of spoilage. Sweetness points towards energy rich sugars, while savory flavors can signal protein. But once again, the senses only narrow the odds. They do not print a safety certificate. The next defense was learning from consequences. Humans are usually good at connecting a flavor with a later illness. If one food is followed by hours of nausea, the taste can become disgusting for years. Scientists call this condition taste aversion. You do not need to understand chemistry. Your brain simply writes a powerful note: never eat that again. But individual learning has an obvious weakness. If every person must repeat every mistake, the group gains almost nothing. This is where the real human advantage appears. Children did not enter the landscape alone and invent a diet from scratch. They watched what other people collected. They followed relatives on gathering trips. They handled small tools, copied older children, played at adult tasks, and gradually participated in the real work. Studies of present day hunter gathering communities cannot show us an exact movie of the Stone Age. These societies are modern and enormously diverse, but they do reveal how much survival knowledge people can acquire through observation, imitation, play, and practice. Across several studied communities, children learned environmental hazards and basic food gathering skills surprisingly early. They learned from parents, grandparents, skilled adults, siblings, and especially other children. In some research, child to child teaching makes up a large share of the teaching that observers actually see. That matters because a 6-year-old does not need to discover which mushroom causes paralysis. The child only needs to remember the mushroom everyone avoids. And food knowledge was more complicated than eat this or do not eat that. The same landscape changes with the seasons. One part of a plant may be edible while another is harmful. A young leaf may be useful when an older leaf is too tough. A root may be safe only after preparation. Meat that was safe when fresh becomes dangerous after it sits in the heat. So the group carried a living map: what to gather, where to find it, when it appeared, which part to use, and how to prepare it. A person did not merely recognize a plant, they recognized a plant inside a system of place, season, and method. Then humans began doing something even more powerful. They stopped accepting food exactly as nature provided it. Peeling, cutting, pounding, grinding, soaking, rinsing, drying, fermenting, and heating could transform something unpleasant or dangerous into usable calories. These were not discovered cooking techniques. They were early food processing technologies, and different toxins required different solutions. Heat can reduce some hazards, but it does not magically destroy every poison. With certain plants, removing the skin matters. With others, toxin must be washed away with water. Some require repeated processing. Modern cassava show how sophisticated this kind of knowledge can become. The raw roots contains compounds that can release cyanide. Communities developed methods using combinations of grating, soaking, fermenting, pressing, and heating to make it safe. Cassava was not a universal Paleolithic food, but it demonstrates the larger principle. Humans can turn a toxic plant into a staple by preserving a precise cultural recipe. Fire expanded that power. Cooking kills many parasites and microbes, softens tough foods, and increases the energy humans can obtain from meat and starchy plants. Some otherwise useful tubers are extremely difficult to eat raw. Roast them, and the same underground lump becomes softer, more digestible fuel. But fire was not just a tool, it was part of a chain of knowledge. Someone had to know which root to dig up, someone had to recognize the correct season, someone had to remember whether it needed peeling, pounding, soaking, or roasting. Someone had to notice when the result looked wrong, and younger people had to see the process enough times to repeat it without turning dinner into a medical emergency. This is why the old image of the lonely prehistoric taste tester missed the point. Ancient humans did make mistakes. People certainly became sick, and some discoveries must have carried a terrible cost. But survival did not depend on repeating those accidents forever. Humans could turn one bad experience into a warning into a rule into a demonstration, and a demonstration into a tradition. That tradition could outlive everyone who first learned it. When you walk into a supermarket, you are surrounded by the result. Almost every item has already been identified, selected, processed, tested, and explained by people you will never meet. You can eat without personally knowing botany, toxicology, or the seasonal behavior of a single wild plant. That certainty feels ordinary only because the dangerous part happened before you arrived. A recipe is not merely a list of ingredients. At its oldest and most important, it is compressed survival memory. It is a message passed across generations saying, this is food, this is how you prepare it, and if you remember these steps, you may still be here tomorrow.